Related to the
Switch on the mic.
related to the what you just said about innovation, but what about how Muslims when there was no answer in like the Sunnah or the Quran, uh, and they would have to like find the answer, what would that be?
Okay, when there was no Quran and the Sunnah, there were other books of revelation. There was Torah, there was Injil, weren't they? So religion had, like the way science develops, does everything develop from a scratch, or something is developed before and is developed over it? What do you think? Things just come out of nowhere, or people gradually develop? Somebody had to do math before, algebra and calculus, and then your engineering depends on it. Engineering doesn't mean you just go and put up all these cables together. They have to do all sorts of maths, calculus. So somebody had to do calculus, somebody had to do algebra. Those people who want to be engineers, they have to be very good in math, okay? Yeah, it's all about math. Even your computers, what is it? Nothing but math. Who's doing this word again and again? I don't think it's funny. Okay, so what was it? What are we trying to talk?
Computer.
No, someone who didn't had really
religion. So what we say is religion. Allah started it with who? Adam. So He gave it some instructions to Adam. The people who came after Idris, Nuh, okay, Hud, Saleh, Ayub, whoever, Dawood, Sulaiman, Musa, Isa, Ibrahim, all of them were given. And ultimately, in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was perfected. So it doesn't mean it did not exist. It did exist. Tawrat and Injil. The Jews and the Christians, they were the carriers of the message with them. So people who did not have the knowledge, what should have they done? There could be a question. Like the people of Mecca, they had a prophet, Ismail, and his father Ibrahim alayhi salam. They communicated Allah's message to them. So they used to follow their religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam, where they were not supposed to be worshipping anything other than Allah. And they did not. Until Amr ibn Luhay al-Khuzai brought an idol and put it in Mecca. Ibn Khuza'a was in charge of Kaaba for quite some time. So their leader, Amr ibn Luhay, he went to Syria. And he saw the people there worshipping an idol. So he asked them, why do you do it? They said, this thing will help us relate to Allah. He said, fine, then I should need something like this too. So they made another image of that idol. He brought that and placed it in front of the Kaaba. And then when the time for Hajj came, people came from all over Arabia, and they saw this new thing in the yard of the Kaaba. So they asked Amr, because he was the leader, what is this? He said, this thing is going to help us to reach Allah. It will be an intermediary between us and Allah. They said, okay, so every tribe needs one. And all of them started making a replica of that idol, and they took it. This is what Rasulullah said on the night of Mi'raj. He said Allah showed him hell, and he said, I saw Amr in hellfire dragging his guts, because they're all out in the fire, and he walks with it. Every time he tries to put it back, but it falls down in the fire. And it's because he introduced this idol worshipping amongst the Arabs. Before that, Arabs were not idol worshippers. Now, again, Quran and Sunnah. If you know that it was not there, and you have no other way of knowing how to worship Allah, in that case, too, you don't do any act of worship. But at the same time, you don't innovate a new way of worshipping Allah. That is also important, even if there is no Quran and Sunnah. And how do we know? There is a case of Sa'id ibn Zayd, radiallahu anhu, one of the 10 given glad tidings. His father Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufayl was one of the believers in monotheism. So Sa'id once asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about his father, because his father Zayd died before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called people to Islam. So Sa'id asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about his father. Where will he be? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I saw your father in Jannah. Why? Because Zayd never worshipped idols. And he also did not do any kind of worshipping Allah, like the way you do Salah, Sawm, etc. Asma, radiallahu anha, the daughter of Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, she said, I saw Zayd once standing in the gates of Kaaba and calling the people of the Quraysh. He said, "Oh Quraysh, I see that none of you are in the religion of your father Ibrahim except myself." And then he raised his hand up and said, "Oh Allah, I know there is no Lord but you, but at the same time I do not know how to worship you." So see here the point. He did not innovate a way of worshipping Allah. But at the same time, he did not worship anything other than Allah. He believed in Allah. And they say he would never eat from the meat of those animals that were sacrificed in front of the statues. So this is why Allah, because of his faith, absolute faith in Allah, who is monotheistic, did not associate anything, even though he did not do acts of ritual worship that we do. He was still in Jannah. So this is why your faith has to be correct. And this is why Rasulullah said, whoever has we call the mustard seed size of Iman will be in Jannah. Yes, Sharif has a question.
I have a follow-up question from the sister about the question we answered before, and then I have a question again. It's on. The question is, following up from the previous question, I am reminded that there is hadith you have to pray until you are conscious. So basically, মানে স্মরণ করে দিচ্ছে যে কি একটা হাদিস আছে নাকি যেখানে বলছে কি নামাজ পড়তে হবে যতক্ষণ পর্যন্ত না হুশ থাকে আর কি হুশ থাকা পর্যন্ত নামাজ পড়তে হবে.
Right, I understand. আমি তো বলেছি এটা হচ্ছে যে ওই পার্সনের ability to pray, নামাজ পড়ার মতো যোগ্যতা, সে নামাজ পড়ার যোগ্যতা মানে কি দাঁড়িয়ে থাকলে দাঁড়িয়ে, যদি দাঁড়িয়ে না পারে বসে, বসে না পারলে শুয়ে। এখন কথা হচ্ছে যে শুয়ে যদি পড়তে না পারে, that means that person is not able. তার হুঁশ আছে কিন্তু হুঁশ থাকা মানে কি, সে কথা বলতে পারে, অন্তর দিয়ে চিন্তা করতে পারে, যদি চিন্তা করতে পারে, yes, that person will pray, but that is not our responsibility, it is that person's. যেই লোকটা বা যেই পার্সন এই অবস্থায়, কিন্তু সে কিভাবে করবে, সে কমিউনিকেট করতে পারছে না, বা ওযু করা দরকার probably. So in this case, this is actually a disability. That disability exempts the person from performing this ibadah.
So the money that I'm
he doesn't have to do anything.
Okay, the second question and then Muhammad's question. The question what was asked during my talk was, what is Qiyamul Layl? Yeah, this is not working anymore. So basically, people are asking, what is Qiyamul Layl? We're saying Qiyamul Layl.
Yeah, what is Qiyamul Layl? Qiyam literally means what? What does it mean? Does anybody know what Qiyam means? To stand. Like we say, praying Salah is Qiyam. But unfortunately in our country, Qiyam became to say stand and say, Ya Nabi, Salam Alaikum. In Islam, Qiyam is to pray. It literally means standing. But when Allah uses the term Qiyam, Qama, it means to pray. When he said to Rasulullah, what did he say? Ya ayyuhal muzammil, qumil layla illa qalil. He said, oh, the one wrapped in a mantle, stand up the whole night. And then he said, illa qalil, except a little bit of it. Then he says, nisfahu aw inqus aw zid. Do half or more or less. Okay. So qiyam is to stand in prayer at night. Now you might say, oh, we are sitting down. So it's another word for it is to stay awake at night to worship Allah. Whether standing, sitting, whatever way. Like we're doing what? Practicing knowledge. And is this an ibadah? Rasulullah, I don't know the exact wording of the hadith, but the meaning is more or less like the one who spends an hour of night, called learning knowledge, is better for him than standing the whole night in prayer. So this is also part of our, it's more or less the meaning, I'm not exactly sure, probably it's one night or one whole year, I'm not sure. So this is an act of worship. And also our part of our work is to stand in praying too. Shall we do that? Yes, we will, inshallah. So Qiyamul Layl again is to stand or stay awake at night, worshipping Allah. And that worship includes even the talks that we have.
Next question.
What about people like they found people in the Amazon jungle?
Wait, you're gonna go next. Go. It's okay. Go.
So does that mean that the Christian religion is like bid'ah because they keep on innovating it?
Definitely. Allah said about them what? They are all the misguided ones. Right? Why are they misguided? Because their whole religion itself is innovation in their case. They were not supposed to be having a new religion. They were supposed to be in the faith of the Jewish people. The same thing. Except that they have to accept the new revelation came in Injil, which doesn't have any law, though. Injil doesn't have any law except some glad tidings. Injil literally means glad tidings. That's why in Bangla they call it Shushamachar. Injiler Bangla হচ্ছে সুসমাচার। বাইবেল না কিন্তু, ঠিক আছে, আমাদের দেশের লোকেরা অনেক বাইবেল। বাইবেল মানে হচ্ছে সবগুলো বই একসাথে। তাওরাত, জবুর, ইনজিল আরো অনেক বই, সবগুলো একসাথে হলো বাইবেল। আর ইনজিলটা হলো ইংরেজিতে বলে গসপেল, বাংলায় ওরা বলে সুসমাচার। জনের সুসমাচার, মার্কের সুসমাচার, মথির সুসমাচার, এগুলো।
My question is, they found people on the Amazon jungle, so they don't know if they don't know anything about like Allah or religion, Islam. So what happened to them?
I don't know. Let Allah decide about them. There is a hadith. It says that on the day of judgment, the people who have no knowledge of Allah, Allah will ask them. I can't give you the sanad of this hadith, but I know that for sure it is sahih, that they will be asked. He will make Jannah and Jahannam. So he'll order people to go to Jahannam. So those who will be obeying Allah on that day, they will be saved. It's because now they have seen him and he ordered them. Like in Iblis, what was he commanded? He was commanded to make prostration before Adam. And he said, why I should? Because he is made of dust and I am made of fire. But it is Allah. He said, what forbade you from prostrating before the one who I created with my two hands? So it was not Adam, it was the command of Allah. Same thing for these people who have had no knowledge of Allah in this world, and they did not also worship anything else, then they will be given a chance on that day to obey Allah. He will give them a command. There is a fire, go. Those who will obey, they will be saved because they have obeyed the command of their Lord. Those who disobey, they are doomed. But even in Amazon jungle, if they have been worshipping all those voodoo things, they have already committed shirk. So there is no way they will be saved.
Okay,
Yeah, who's?
He's next.
He already he asked the question, we answered. Yes. Tahmid. Yeah, so go ahead.
Mike? Should I have?
Oh, he's looking for the mic.
It doesn't work.
Oh.
The mic isn't working.
Oh.
So then repeat the question.
I am a little tired, so let me sit down.
Yeah.
Need help?